Well, it's the end of the year, but it's not the end of the world, dude. We've got children to feed, house, clothe, and occasionally take out to frozen yogurt. We can't be spending all our money on cardboard. So let's buckle down, get a sweet budget commander deck in before the holidays. Let's talk about Obeka, Splitter of Seconds. Now I see dudes say Obeka, and that's objectively wrong, alright? Listen, I know it's just a made-up word in a children's card game, but that's what we do here. We make stuff up, we stick by it, and we make it entertaining while we're here. So if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. It's 2025, it's the future, brother. So let's see what's new for the Splitter of Seconds. Obeka, Splitter of Seconds is 1 blue, black, and a red for a legendary creature, Ogre Warlock. It's 2/5 with Menace. Whenever this guy deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. You're living on borrowed time, yeah. So I like that she's not wearing a cowboy hat. You know, in this set, Thunder Junction, everybody cowboyed out. It's like National Lampoon's European Vacation, Ernest Goes to Guantanamo Bay, The Simpsons Take a Dutch Brothel, stuff like this. It's a weird thing that these franchises do when they run out of ideas. But this card is uniquely designed, it's elegant, it makes use of some very cheap cards and some really sweet cards to generate value and lean into a new design space. Perfect card for a budget deck. Menace. So Menace is evasion, but it's evasion light. She has to get through. So we're going to be including some ways to get through for combat damage. This deck is also centered around the commander. If you get her killed too many times, you're going to be up a creek, man. So we are including some interaction and some protection pieces. Brother, there are a bunch of existing mechanics that benefit from having multiple upkeeps. Cards with Suspend are a lot of fun and relatively cheap for what they do. Take Profane Tutor here. It has Suspend 2, 1 and a black. So rather than cast this card from your hand, you pay the 1 and a black, exile it with 2 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So basically you're just demonic tutoring, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, shuffle. It takes a couple turns to get started, but if you get 2 upkeeps the turn you cast it, after your combat phase, go get your win condition, man. Wheel of Fate, not as good as Wheel of Fortune, of course, as you can see. The dude in the art is looking a little depressed over there. Has to spend 4 for 1 in a red. Each player discards their hand, draws 7 cards. And listen, I know some people don't dig on wheels, man. I've heard that nitpicking nerds fella saying you shouldn't give your opponents cards. But I don't know what game he's playing out there, man. He's playing pocket pool in the corner. Probably. But I dig these effects. More often than not, your opponents have hands they want to keep, you know, and then they get a handful of whatever. Anyways, man, who cares? It's a casual game. Honestly, I like the nitpicking nerds, you know. No shade. I like Beezy out there. I like Lady Joe Cherries. They're both alright in my book. One of my favorites here is Inevitable Betrayal. So this guy has to spend 3, 1 blue. Search target opponent's library for a creature card, put that card onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. It's bribery, but it's cheaper. Great card, man. Getting this out in 1 turn or 2 turns is phenomenal. You also have access to one of the coolest cards out there, the Star Whale. 6 blue, creature alien whale, it's an 8/8. Flying vigilance, other creatures you control have ward 2, has to spend 6 for 1 and a blue. Bro, this is the whales I always hear people talking about, buying exorbitant amounts of magic cards. Stop buying all the damn secret layers, you whale. Big beefy space dude, love this card, man. Plus that little schmear of protection with ward 2 for Obeka. Now we are in Grixis, so we aren't great at land ramping. We don't have mana dorks. We don't have catch-up ramp. So it's rituals or artifacts in these colors, buddy. Grab some good mana rocks. Grab the replicating ring out there. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on this thing. If it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them. Create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicated Ring. With tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it's like a manalith, but you need 8 upkeeps. Seems doable in this deck, especially if we're pumping our commander. Then you have Midnight Clock out there. 2 and a blue for an artifact. Tap, add blue. 2 and a blue, put an hour counter on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an hour counter on it. So this thing, when it gets 12 hour counters on it, you shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, draw 7 cards. Fantastic. Another pseudo wheel effect to keep our hand full, but it's only for us. This deck has a lot of ramp, so you might run into empty hand syndrome fairly quickly. Now, another mechanic that works really nicely with 1,000 upkeeps is the initiative. The initiative is a designation a player can have. A player with the initiative designation is said to have the initiative. The initiative carries 2 inherent rules. First, when a player takes the initiative and at the beginning of the upkeep of the player with the initiative, that player ventures into the Undercity, that special dungeon, man. Second, whenever one or more creatures a player controlled deals combat damage to the player who has the initiative, the first player takes the initiative. It's like the Monarch. Also, some abilities will refer to having the initiative and provide other benefits. So anyways, you go through the dungeon. If you thought keeping track of night and day, attractions, the Monarch, and counters was fun, wait till you get to keep track of the Undercity, man. It does have some pump in the form of counters, though, so that's nice to get our sweet lady Obeka. And there are a couple good cards to put out there with the initiative. Caves of Chaos Adventurer, 3 and a red. Creature, Human Barbarian, it's 5/3 with trample, not bad right there. Whenever this guy enters, you take the initiative, and when it attacks, exile the top card of your library. If you've completed a dungeon, you may play that card this turn without paying its mana cost, so you can play a land. Otherwise, you may play this card this turn. This is just a good bulk card, man. It does have trample, has an attack trigger, plus it's a barbarian lady just punching people in the chungus, dude. Kinda like Obeka. She does time magic by punching things. You got the Tuma Horrors adventure out here. This is a elf monk 4/4. Costs 6 mana, but whenever this guy enters, you take the initiative. And whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. So right there, it's not a bad card right off the rip, man. If you've completed a dungeon, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies. This is another card that's just good. 6 mana 4/4 that lets you copy the second spell you cast each turn. Looks like she's about to scoop out some viscera with that weapon, dude. Is that a spoon? Now this one is interesting. Rilsa Rael, Kingpin, or Rael, I don't know, dude. I'm not talking about railing some dwarfs out here. 3 blue and a black, legendary creature, human rogue. It's a 2/5. Oh, I lied, it's a human rogue. Has death touch. When this thing enters, you take the initiative. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gains death touch until end of turn. If you completed a dungeon, that creature also gets +5/+0, gains first strike and menace until end of turn. So you're gonna put that on Obeka. So complete that Undercity dungeon, and Obeka's getting really big, smack in face with the power of the initiative. Hey, while we're at it, you may want to keep track of another thing, the ring tempting you. Call the Ring's a good card. 1 and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. So multiple upkeeps, you get all that sweet ring stuff. Probably the best of the bunch is the first Ring Temptation, where your ring bearer is legendary, can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. I thought that was Skulk, but, you know, whatever, man. Alright, we want to get Obeka through, otherwise this whole deck is a piece of garbage, you know? I feel like I'm in the Great British Bake Off here, you know? Your cake is a piece of garbage. What were you thinking? I've never envied the dead before, but at least they can't taste this compote. Enter the Enigma. What a name for a card, man. Artful Dodge out here. Aether Tunnel, Aqueous Form. These are all great ways to get in and can be a little surprise. And of course, we have some equipment here. Whispersill Cloak, Trailblazer's Boots, Vorak Battle Horn. So that's 2 generic mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature has trample, can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, has equipped for 1. So it needs to be blocked by more than 1 with the menace, but can't be with the horns. So we've got an unblockable situation right here. Alright, so we got a good base going on, you know, along with some counter spells, some removal. In Grixis, I didn't find a lot of removal that synergized with the upkeeps, so I just slapped in some staples, you know. An offer you can't refuse is very cheap right now, but you've got counter spell, terminate, chaos warp, stuff like that. Slap in a couple board wipes too. You know, all the stuff you need to build a deck. And as far as vegetables go, listen man, you gotta get the vegetables in your meal. Your meal is your commander deck. Though it's probably your least favorite part of the meal, you want that meat, dude. I know you want the meat out there. There are plenty of draw pieces that synergize with multiple upkeeps. There's some more vegetables for you. I should say draw pieces and card advantage pieces like Phyrexian Arena. Now watch out. This may kill you. This has been a staple forever. People love this card. I think it's a little mid, you know, unless you're slapping down 3 upkeeps a turn, then it turns into a problem as you drain yourself. Same thing with the old Blood Gift Demon. Watch out for this guy. Keep your Blood Gift receipt. Return it to Walmart, dude. You don't want that Blood Gift. You also have Indulgent Tormentor. 3 life. No big deal. 9 life. Now we're talking a big old chunk and some serious card draw. Now I want to talk to you about the Twilight Prophet, 2 black creature vampire cleric. It's a 2/4 with flying and ascend. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the city's blessing, reveal the top card of your library, put it in your hand. Each opponent loses X life, you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value. This can be a win condition if you got 4 or 5 upkeeps. Gorgeous card, under $1 as we speak. And you'll get the blessing relatively quick, dude, that blessing of the city. This can trigger some really big drain, man. Now how about this guy, a Laughing Jasper Flint. So this is 1 black and a red, legendary creature, lizard rogue. It's a 4/3. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Obeka is indeed an outlaw, being a warlock. Never understood the difference between a wizard and a warlock and witches, you know what I mean? But I am absolutely positive one of you will write a 500-page treatise on the subject in the comments. As we already pointed out, we make stuff up here at Better Commander. How about these guys, Plarg and Nasari, 3 red, legendary creature, Orc Fre. It's a 5/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. When an opponent chooses a non-land card exiled this way, you may cast up to 2 spells from among the other cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So that's 2 free spells. Could be crap, could be amazing, but you know what? If you have 3 upkeeps, that's a lot more promising to me, buddy. There's going to be some lands in there too, so sometimes maybe you only get 1 free card. I don't know. I like these guys. They're a cute couple. They look like they drink martinis in their bathrobes and insult their friends, you know? I'm down for that kind of soiree. So now we have our base together. We have the initiative. We have the 1 ring to keep track of. We have the city's blessing. And we just lean into big upkeep triggers. Skyline Despot. So the Monarch. Monarch has kind of a draw ability because you become the Monarch after combat damage. So these abilities will trigger on subsequent upkeeps with Obeka. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you're the Monarch, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Not bad. You know, 2-3 upkeeps, that's a lot of power, man, especially if Obeka gets through. Court of Ambition, Sophie's choice here, man. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. If you're the Monarch, instead, each opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. Court of Ire, all of a sudden you're tossing around 21 damage if you can get Obeka through for 3 upkeeps, man. Now this is one of the coolest cards I've seen in circa 2009, but it's the Blood Tyrant. 4 blue, black, and a red. Creature vampire, it's a 5/5 with flying and trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player loses 1 life. That includes a you, buddy. Put a +1/+1 counter on this guy for each 1 life lost this way. When a player loses the game, put 5 +1/+1 counters on the Blood Tyrant. So listen, man, not a fantastic card, but if you have 3 upkeeps, kind of my benchmark here for this deck. This guy is slapping in for 17 tramply flying damage. I just love how unhinged the art is too, man. It's so grixis, dude. This guy looks hungry. Looks like he's coming for your Cheetos. So I believe at the time of this recording, this deck is about $75. There are 37 effects that interact favorably with all the upkeeps, lots of synergy, lots of draw, lots of card advantage, lots of ramp. You have an alternate win condition with mechanized production, and all of that can be had for 75 bucks. Runs smooth as silk, dude. If you've got long hair, try a silk bonnet. And if you're bald like me, just slap some spaghetti sauce on that dome, make yourself a meatball, buddy. Nikki G, Better Commander, signing off.